3, friends first. Very powerful concept. Friends first. Friends first is this. How many of you have a close friend that you enjoy being around? And just even the thought of them calling you kind of makes you feel different. You're happy to hear from them. You're happy to go have coffee with them. You're happy to hang out with them. You all have friends like that, right? Okay. If you were to treat every person that you come in contact with that same introduction, that you are happy to see them, happy to know them, you like being around them, that same energy that is produced with being with that friend, and that's how you communicated with every stranger that you've ever come in contact with, you would have a huge boost in referrals at whatever it is that you do. Huge boost. If you know no stranger, do you understand? I have an uncle who married an aunt who's about 16 years younger. My aunt is very beautiful, and he's 16 years older. And not only does he look like her father, okay, but it must be a stepfather. Because they don't look anything, do you know what I'm saying? You look at this couple and go, how did that happen? How many have ever seen couples like that? Right? You've all looked like, how in the world did that happen? I mean, she is drop dead gorgeous. You look at this couple and you go, there's no way. How did that? Don't get it. Okay? And it wasn't money because he didn't have a lot of it. Okay? And her ex-husband was like 6'8" and gorgeous and, militant and man's man, and then here's Uncle George. Like, how do you do that? Right? But I'm going to tell you what it is. He knows no stranger. He knows no stranger. He knows no stranger. The man's people skills are unbelievable. They are unbelievable. He treats everybody with absolute honor and absolute respect. He cherishes every human being he comes in contact with. His famous last words every time I leave his house is, you come around anytime you want, I'll always have a pork chop in the fridge for you. Kisses me on the cheek. I mean, he is a precious, precious, precious man. That's how he lassoed that beautiful woman in. They've been married for 20 some odd years now. Yeah, 20 some odd years now. Do you understand? Friends first. He knows no strangers. It's called disarming. You disarm people by not trying to impress them, but you disarm people with wanting to try to get to know them. You disarm people by honoring them. You disarm people with getting them to talk about themselves and you listening, which is some of the other things I'll be talking about. But if you make that every conversation, especially if you're in a professional sales type position, that if you make every contact to a cold call or what have you, that you make it that there is no stranger, that you treat them in a friendly way with a simple thing of, hey, how's it going? That disarms them. If you put the whole focus on that individual, it disarms them. You know what? Listen to this. How many of you have ever flown on an airline where the flight attendants are rude and winchy? Wait, let's do that again. And how many of you are on an airplane where you've had flight attendants that are winchy? Maybe we should send this video to the airlines. Come on, we have all experienced this. Turn that off. Put that away. Can you put your tray table up, please? That bag is sitting out too far. You're like, I want to get up and deck her. I do. There's been some that they have provoked. I'm like, oh. Want to deck her. Why? No one likes being told what to do. No one likes being treated like a child. No one likes to be commanded. No one. But and there's been times where we have been on airplanes where there have been phenomenal flight attendants. There's one guy that I got his card from, like, if I ever had my own plane, you are hired. And is there anything else you like to do, man? Because I'll create a job for you. No joke. That's how impressive this guy was, because he was so good at disarming people. It has nothing to do with personality. It has to do with your interest in other human beings. Did you hear me? It has nothing to do with your personality. It has everything to do with your interest in other human beings. So with this, if those flight attendants learn how to smile, that might help. Number two, if they said, oh, I'm sorry, sir, I'm sure you didn't hear, but it's time to turn those off. I know it seems like a stupid rule, but would you mind turn that thing off? That's honor. versus idiot, turn it off. Two ways to sell. One is forcing it down their throat. The other is creating an eager desire for them to want to do what you ask them to do. Can you see the difference? How many of you tried the thrown down the throat approach? How many of you used that approach with your kids? This is why they flipped you off behind your back. It doesn't work. Next. Form. This is huge. Write this down. F-O-R-M. Family, occupation, recreation, and message. How many of you in this room are in sales? Every single person in this room is in sales, okay? But I'm going to now teach you how not to sell. Let me show you how not to sell. Let's put it this way. Let me teach you how not to sell like an amateur. Difference between amateur and professional, one of them prospers, one of them struggles. Did you hear me? An amateur focuses on the instant gratification. The professional looks for the long-term effects of a relationship. Did you hear me? Short-term instant gratification, long-term effects of a relationship. Let me help you with the sales process. There's 5 things. Number 1, you get their attention. Okay? Number 2, you present your idea, product, yourself, whatever. Number 2 is a presentation. Number 3 is you close the sale. You bring somebody to a decision. Number 4 is follow up. Number 5 is cultivate the relationship. Again, 1, get their attention. 2, present. 3, close. 4, follow up. 5, cultivate. Cultivate what? Cultivate their experience with your sales process that they feel so good about it that they want to say yes and they want to tell others about it. One of the greatest things I think that I've encountered in my life concerning a subject like this is to have my 16-year-old and my 20-whatever-year-old daughter brag about their mother. That when they say, my daughter Erica right now, she's actually in the Philippines right now as we speak. She left yesterday to the Philippines on a mission trip. And do you know that when I talked to her yesterday before she's leaving, she says, I said, are you okay? She's like, I'm just going to miss you. She's 16. How many 16-year-olds miss their parents? Do you know that we've never had trouble with this child? There's a strong relationship that I have with this child. Do you know that she believes in what we do and supports what we do, and she actually works these events with us? Now, if I did not honor my daughter and I didn't have a relationship with her, she would hate what I do because she would see as what I do to compete with her. Do you hear me? She would hate it because she would resent it that I spend all this time doing this and not enough time with her. What I'm sharing with you right now is going to revolutionize everything that you do. There is that sales process. Get their attention. Make a presentation. Close. Follow up. Cultivate. My daughter, Christina, gets me on the phone with other friends of hers all the time that need help, that need counsel, kids that are pregnant, about to give their baby up for adoption or about to get an abortion. Her boss recommends me to her bosses, tells everyone she knows, you got to talk to my mom. How many kids do that? Think about this. In this day and age, in fact, all of us can think of kids that hate their parents. Do you understand? We all think of kids that do that. I'm not saying I'm great. I am flawed, and if there's anyone that sees it, it's my husband and kids that see it the most. You know that's true, right? I am so ridiculously flawed. I screw up all the time. But from what I taught you this morning with forgiveness and laying myself low before my children when I have screwed up and saying, I'm so sorry, please forgive me. I was wrong. And cultivating that relationship that where now my kids are mobilized to tell other people. Are you hearing me? My kids are. That's profound. My 13-year-old son got somebody here. There's a man here because of my 13-year-old son. No joke. My son was at a birthday party, and as the father said, what did your parents do? And my son went off other people based on relationship, it's a win-win situation. It's not a one-way street. So form, let's go through that. Family, occupation, recreation, and message. Let me show you what that looks like. People love to talk about themselves. See, I just finished doing it. People love to talk about themselves. And there's one thing that you can pretty much bet on that they are interested in. Okay? There's one for sure thing that they're interested in. And they are interested in themselves. Okay? That's a guarantee. They're interested in themselves. You're saying, well, Danny, you're saying everybody is selfish. I said, you're right. We are, by our very nature. And that is the truth. Well, that's not me. Well, now you're ignorant and in denial. The truth is, we all have selfish motives. And the more that we can drill those things out of us, then the more of a better life that we will have. But on the surface, most everybody is interested in themselves, and that's it. Okay? So here's how this works. Let's go fishing. Want to go fishing with me? Okay. I want you to grab your tackle box. You got it? Get your tackle box. Get your pole. We're heading out to the lake. Now, we've got to put some bait on the end of the hook. What kind of bait shall we bait the hook with? Oh, man, I make an insane cheesecake. Hey, how about some steak from Bora Bora and some fried rice, some coconut rice, and some curry chicken? But if I like cheesecake, which I do, I love only my cheesecake, or if lasagna, really, other people's cheesecakes don't do anything for me, but this cheesecake, now that cheesecake is something. What about lemon meringue pies? Anybody here love? I make the meanest lemon meringue pie. It's so bad you feel like you're going to explode with the sugar high when I'm all done with you. So anyway, I love to cook, if you can't tell. So if we put lemon meringue pie on the end of the hook because I like lemon meringue pie, and the mistake that 98% of the population makes is that they think that everybody else likes what they like. So they bait the hook with what they like, and they try to shove that down their throat. And so if we were to go fishing, how do you go fishing? You first of all, you got to find the right bait, right? You find out what bait the fish like, right? Then you put that at the end of the hook, right? And then what do? Come on, ready? Cast. Casting. Okay. And then what? You feel a little nibble. Just jerk it up a little bit. Start slowly. You feel another little nibble. Jerk it back just a little. And then all of a sudden, what happens? Bam! That fish chases down that bait, and you got him. Well, what 98% of the population does in this sales process is this. They reach into the water. They grab the fish by the back of the neck. They grab a handful of bait, and they shove it down the fish's mouth. You want this? I know you do. You need this. Come on, I have a weight loss product and you need to lose weight. You're sick. Here's some vitamins. You're going to get sued. Here's my legal services. When you lead with your product or service, you limit your market. Did you hear me? When you lead with your product or service, you limit your market. It is best first to find out what the fish likes. How do you find out what the fish likes? Ask. There's the questions that you're going to ask. Get people talking about 3 simple things. Number 1, family. Ask them, where are they from? Are they married? Are they single? How long have they been married? Do they have any kids? Tell me about your kids. What are their ages? What do they like to do? How long have you lived in the area? Do you like where you live? Things like that. Those are simple questions to ask. And what you'll find is that people, once you get them started, here it all comes. Okay, number 2, occupation. Ask them, what do you do? How long have you been doing it? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? These are questions that you should ask. And what you will find when you ask these questions that people go, come on, help me. They just say it all. Here it all comes. Bam, 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 bam. Next, recreation. What do they like to do for fun? How often do they get to do it? Who do they like to do it with? How did they ever get an interest in that thing that they do? The message is for when you find out all that information Then you introduce them to your presentation. Then close, follow up, cultivate. So what does that look like? I'm going to show you here in a minute after I get through the rest of the outline. So again, family, occupation, recreation, and message. The point is to put the focus on the person and to take the focus off of you. There's some key elements that have to be done while you're doing that form thing, which brings me to number 5, which is ask questions and control the conversation. He who asks the questions is the one in control of the conversation. Whoever's asking questions is in control of the conversation. Whoever's asking questions is in control of the conversation. In fact, watch. How many of you want to leave this weekend different than when you came? I just controlled the conversation. Okay? How many of you have learned a lot so far already today? Yes, you have. And how many of you looking forward to getting more? Okay? How many of you want to pay off debt? How many of you want to travel? What am I learning about you? I'm learning that you want to travel, you want to pay off debt, you want to change in your life. I'm learning that you're not satisfied with where you're at based on the questions that I just asked you and the answer you gave me. Did you hear me? Instead of assuming that I know what you want. This morning when I came out to you, I asked you questions and you were going like this. Some of you, it's the most exercise you've had in a long time. Me included. Me included. I don't exercise. This is it. Okay, so asking questions. He who controls the conversation wins. Whoever does all the talking will lose. Did you hear me? Whoever does all the talking will lose. So your job is to get other people to talk about themselves. Why? Because it does 2 things. Number 1, it develops trust. It develops trust with the other person. Another breakdown in marriage, no trust. Why? No talking, only fighting. Okay? When you go home and you use these questions on your spouse, it's going to shock you what you learn. Especially when you ask your spouse what he does and what he likes about it and what he doesn't, or she, whatever. It will shock you how much you learn. When you ask what they like to do for fun, it's going to shock you what you learn about your spouse. You go home and try this on your kids, it's going to shock you what you learn about them. It'll blow your mind. You're actually going to get to know people that have been in your house for 25 years. This is no joke. We walk around saying, oh, I know him, or I know her. Okay? No, you don't. You think you do. Anytime I need to get a point across to anybody, child or adult, I ask a lot of questions. I ask a lot of questions. Why? Because through the answers, I get to hear the real person and the real issue that needs to be solved. Versus the fake one, versus the excuse. Do you hear me? Most of you run on bunny trails of excuses with people instead of knowing what really is in the heart of the man or the woman. All right? So control the conversation by asking questions. Number 6, this is what you're looking for. What I call the sign. You're looking for the sign. The sign S stands for strengths. I stands for interests. G stands for goals. N stands for needs. You're looking for the sign. Strengths, interests, goals, and needs. This applies to every situation you will ever be in for the rest of your life. How many of you are in a position where you are, that your job requires you to recruit or to hire people? Okay? This, what I'm giving you right now, is absolutely perfect for you. When a company has a wrong hire or a bad hire, it causes the company money. It wastes money when you have a bad hire, and same if you're a professional recruiter, which some of you are. So in that you don't waste time, the interview is the most important part. And you're looking for the sign. Again, strengths, interests, goals, and needs. Same with your children. This is how I've motivated one of my sons who is completely, by nature, by personality, would be completely disorganized. But because I know his sign, his strengths, his interests, his goals, and his needs, I am able to motivate him to do things that he naturally would never do. How? Because I'm leading him with his strengths, his interests, his goals, and his needs. People are interested in what? Let's try that again. People are interested in what? People are interested in what? They are not interested in you. Did you hear me? They are not interested in you, nor are they interested in what you have. They're not. Period. No, Danny, when it comes to dating, oh, this goes for finding a mate. The one you've been longing for. Strength, interests, goals, and needs. How many of you have made mistakes in dating? That's because you went on a feeling. You didn't properly interview. Did you hear me? You didn't properly interview. You went on a feeling. You went on a surface instant gratification. Hello? Surface instant gratification. It makes me feel good. Write this down. Make people feel important. Make people feel cherished and special. When you make people feel special and cherished, gosh, you have won an advocate. Did you hear me? There's a difference between a friend and an advocate. Do any of you have an advocate in your life? Somebody that defends you? Somebody that fights for you? Somebody that you know, even if you did something, the most unthinkable thing ever in your life, that they still would stand beside you? There's very few people on the planet that have one of those. Very few. I'm blessed I got a few.